Part 3 of my Norse family history. If you haven't watched the other ones, go watch them. So how does it connect to Lord of the Rings? Oh, you don't even know. And I'll make another one about Asgard and separate and how everything's connected on another one. But this one, I'm just going a little bit deeper on it. So I've overlaid a Lord of the Rings map on top of a regular world map, and this is Italy right here, the coastline, and if you look right here, there's a little fork, and mountains go all the way up and curve. Okay, so look for the fork, mountains, curve, and coastline. There it is on a regular map. Fork, and then it kind of curves up and over right here. And there's the coastline. Yeah, and I found out, this area is over in the Shire. As you kind of see right there. So what about the other things? Rohan. So here's a snippet of Rohan, but what does that look like to you? The architecture and the crosses right here. It's a Scandinavian-style building. It's a longhouse. Now, Sigurd was very interesting in this aspect because it matches Lord of the Rings. Some of you might not have read the myths yet, but it matches Sigurd to a T, but just has a different story than Lord of the Rings. Maybe they changed it to just be entertaining. Saga of the Volsungs by Dr. Jackson Crawford. Concerning the slaying of Fafnir. Now Sigurd and Regin went up on Nidahede, and there they found the path that Fafnir followed when he slithered down to the water. It is said that the cliff Fafnir sat on when he drank from the water below was 30 feet high. Sigurd said, Regin, you told me that this dragon wasn't any larger than an average snake, but the trail he's left here tells me he is very large. Regin said, so dig a pit and sit in it. And when the dragon comes slithering to the water, stab him in his heart and kill him that way. You'll win great fame for it. Sigurd said, what will happen to me if I get the dragon's blood on me? There's just no getting to you to do anything since you're afraid of everything. You are nothing like your departed kinsman when it comes to courage. Then Regin fled in terror, and Sigurd rode upon Nidahede and dug a pit. And while he was at this work, an old man with a long beard came up to him and asked what he was doing there. Sigurd told him. The old man said, this is unwise. Dig more pits so that the blood will run off into them while you sit in this one and stab the dragon's heart. Then the man disappeared, and Sigurd dug more pits as the man had advised. And when the dragon came slithering towards the water, there was an earthquake that shook all the earth in the vicinity. The dragon blew poison from its mouth in every direction in front of him. And Sigurd was afraid neither of the sight nor the sound. And when the dragon slithered over his pit, Sigurd stabbed him beneath his left armpit, so deep that the sword sank up to the hilt. Then Sigurd leapt up out of his pit and drew his sword back, and his arms were bloody up to the shoulders. And when the great dragon felt himself mortally wounded, he thrashed out with his head and tail and broke everything in reach. And as Fafnir felt himself dying, he said, who are you? Who is your father? What family are you from that you were daring enough to bring weapons against me? And Sigurd said, no man knows my family. I am called Cleaverbeast, or Cleverbeast. I have neither father nor mother. I am always alone. Fafnir said, if you had no father and no mother, in what strange way were you born? And though you don't want to tell me your name on my death day, you know that you're lying right now. Sigurd said, I'm named Sigurd, and my father was Sigmund. Fafnir said, who convinced you to kill me, and why did you let yourself get talked into it? Did you ever hear how everyone is afraid of me and my terror helmet? You fierce-eyed young man, I don't doubt that you had a warlike father. My courage made me do it, my strong hand helped, and this sharp sword which you felt inside you got it done. Not many men are brave in adulthood, and if they were cowards as boys. Fafnir said, I know if you had grown up in your own family's embrace, you might have killed me for courage's sake. But it's a wonder that a captive taken in war was brave enough to fight me, because it's a rare prisoner who's bold in battle. Sigurd said, You mock me for being far away from my father's kin, but even though I was taken in war, I am no prisoner, and you noticed that I live free. Fafnir said, You think that everything I say to you is mockery, but this gold I've claimed will bring about your death. A gold and dragon and stuff like that's Smaug he's talking to. Sigurd said every man will have control of his wealth until his fated death day, but there is a time for each one of us to die. You don't want to hear my advice, but you'll be drawn to it if you sail recklessly. Wait on the land until you see the ocean calm. Sigurd said, Tell me, Fafnir, if you are very wise, who are the Norns who choose which child gets which mother? Fafnir said, There are various different kinds of Norns. Some are god-born, some are elves, some come from the dwarves. Sigurd said, What is the name of the island where the gods and giants will fight their final battle? Fafnir said, It is called Oskapt. I think. Oskapt. And then Fafnir continued, My brother Regan caused my death, and I laugh knowing that he'll cause yours too, and that's what he wants. I wore a terror helmet against all men as long as I sat on my brother's ransom, and I blew poison in every direction before me so that no man dare come near me, and I feared no weapon. I've never faced so many men that I did not feel myself stronger than they were, and everyone feared me. The terror helmet you speak of will not grant anyone victory. Every man finds when he comes among his enemies at the start of a battle that there is no bravest man. I advise you take your horse and ride away from here as fast as you can. It's not unusual that a mortally wounded man still manages to avenge himself. Sigurd said, That's your advice, but I'll do something else. I'll ride to your lair and take the great treasure of gold that has been the property of your kinsman. Sounds like they're going inside of the cave, like Mines of Moria type of thing. What happened in the movie? Fafnir said, You will ride there and find all the gold, and it will be enough for all your days. And that gold will kill you and everyone else who owns it. Sigurd stood up and said, I'd ride home and leave this treasure alone if I knew that I would never die. But every bold man wants to have control of his wealth until his fated death day. And you, Fafnir, lie there in your life's broken pieces, and may hell have you. And with this, Fafnir died. Sigurd, as in this guy right here. Oh, that's just some random dragon and hero. Okay, so why is there a cave full of treasure for one, and his size, he drank water from 30 feet below. You take in all the details and it's Smaug. Okay, but what about the dude? Why is he Aragorn? Or why does he link up to Lord of the Rings? Looks like I'm going to have to make another part to this, but chapter 15. Now Regan made a sword and gave it to Sigurd. Sigurd took the sword and said, This is your swordcraft, Regan, and swung it at the anvil. The sword broke. He threw it away and told Regan to make a better one. Regan made a second sword and gave it to Sigurd, and he looked at it, and Regan said, This one will be to your liking, though you're a hard man to work for. And then Sigurd tested the sword, and it broke like the first one. Sigurd said to Regan, You're going to be like your earlier kinsman and prove untrue. Then he went to see his mother, and she greeted him well, and they took to talking and drinking. Sigurd said, Have I heard correctly that King Sigmund gave you the sword Grom in 2 pieces? She said, That is true. She said he was unlikely to win fame, and she gave him the sword.